Hey, I'm Jay Holland. Welcome back to Guided by Faith. I have a really incredible week for you of some powerfully transformative stories. We're going to look this week at what happens when the gospel takes root in culture. Last week we talked about evidences for the resurrection, and as I was looking through studying the most compelling evidences for the resurrection, one of the things that really stood out to me was how radical cultures can change across time, across ethnicity, around the world, when the gospel really takes root. And so this week, I'm going to bring you story after story of incredible, powerful change that hopefully will inspire you for what the gospel can do in your life and community. Now, I want you to imagine something. What happens when the gospel enters a culture that celebrates betrayal, cannibalism, and endless revenge? What if the very idea of forgiveness, of grace, is considered weak or foolish? Well, today as we begin our series, we're going to look at just that. As we begin in the jungles of Papua New Guinea, we're going to talk about a story that's so powerful it's become a missionary classic, and it's a book that I read in college that is still one of my all-time favorites, The Peace Child. Before we go there, I want to anchor today's session in this scripture, Romans chapter 10, verse 15. How beautiful are the feet of those who bring good news. And you're going to see why here in a second. In the 1960s, a missionary couple, Don and Carol Richardson, moved to live among the Sawi, a remote tribal people in the jungles of Papua New Guinea. What they found there was shocking. The Sawi people practiced ritual cannibalism and glorified betrayal. The greatest honor that you could have in their culture was to befriend somebody for months, earn their trust, and then kill them and eat them. The term was even celebrated, fattening with friendship for the slaughter. So think of fattening a chicken up or fattening a pig up for the kill. They would look at fattening somebody up with friendship to literally betray them, slaughter them, and eat them. When Don tried to share the gospel with them, the story of Jesus being betrayed by Judas, he was horrified to discover that Judas was the hero to the Sawi people. They didn't have a framework to see Jesus as the good guy. Betrayal was admirable in their eyes. So they were looking for some kind of redemptive bridge. What are they going to do? And they got so discouraged that Don and his wife, the violence was increasing, murders were continuing to happen. They had a little child as well, and they felt like, we can't continue to live here. They are rejecting the gospel and our family's going to get killed. So they told the leaders, we're going to leave. How do you share the gospel with people whose values seem completely the opposite of the gospel? But then a war broke out between two Sawi tribes, and tired of the bloodshed, the leaders decided to make peace the only way they knew how, through what they called the peace child. One tribe would give a baby boy from their own family to be raised by the enemy tribe. Now, as long as this child lived, there would be peace between the two groups. Don's eyes lit up. That was it. That was the bridge. He gathered the tribe and explained, God gave his own son not to end war between tribes, but to bring peace between God and people. Jesus is the ultimate peace child. This time the gospel landed. The Sawi understood. They realized that Judas was now the worst person on earth because he betrayed God's peace child. Many believed. The cannibal culture changed and began to transform from the inside out. Families were healed, revenge cycles were ended, and a church was planted. You know, what's amazing is the Sawi people not only got the gospel so great for themselves, but they became a missionary tribe and would go over the hills and jungles to teach other tribes about this Jesus who was God's peace child, who, because he rose from the dead, could never die again. And if we take this peace child, we have peace with God the Father. Now, every culture, it's really cool. Every culture has redemptive analogies. Truths embedded in their culture like seeds waiting for the gospel to water them. The story of the peace child shows that the gospel is not bound by culture. It transforms culture. Back to what we said earlier, the Bible verse, how beautiful are the feet of those who bring good news. Because when the good news takes root, it brings life where there was death. Now, tomorrow we're going to head to Rwanda, where the gospel confronted one of the greatest modern atrocities and turned neighbors from enemies to families again. But as we close out today, I just want to encourage you as you go to your school, as you go to your work, or whatever you have today, remember, sometimes you might live in a culture that seems so broken, there's no hope for it. But there's no culture too broken for the gospel to redeem.